The Marape government's fiscal architecture reflected in all its budget is built on two deeply flawed pillars. Firstly, the 5.6% Connect PNG appropriation, and secondly, the manipulation of GDP figures following a failed 2025 census. The Connect PNG Implementation and Funding Arrangements Act 2021 mandates a minimum appropriation of 5.6% of the annual national budget to the Connect PNG program. This figure is calculated from the original budget total, not revised budget after revenue shortfalls. In 2025, this was 1.6 billion paid to a handful of Crony contractors, which is higher than the total DSIP and PSIP appropriations of 1.5 billion kina that was meant for 96 districts and 22 provinces. What a stark contrast between promoting national development versus crony capitalism. In practice, when revenue collapses due to commodity price volatility, weak tax compliance, poor economic performance, and in this case, fictitious revenue projections from an incompetent government, the Connect PNG allocations remain fixed, and this crowds out essential services like health and education. Today, the Nazarene Hospital at Kujip is shutting down, and provincial health authorities nationwide are in crisis as a corollary of the Connect PNG primacy by this reckless Marape government. This rigid 5.6% appropriation is reckless fiscal management. It ignores the principles of budget elasticity, which demands that allocations adjust in line with actual revenue. Worse, the program's ballooning cost variations, often unexplained and unaccounted for, have created a shadow liability. Contractors are now paid through tax revenue and external borrowings, not through the appropriated trust fund. This has led to a surge in arrears, undermining the credibility of the government's fiscal position and violating the intent of the Public Finance Management Act. The procurement process under Connect PNG is equally opaque. Contracts awarded through the National Procurement Commission have no public disclosure of contract variations, no audit trail for cost escalations, and no accountability for delays. This lack of transparency fuels speculation of political patronage and inflated pricing, further eroding public trust. The second fallacy is the GDP figures. The failure of the 2025 national census has left the government without reliable demographic data. In response, it has resorted to manipulating GDP figures to maintain a palatable debt-to-GDP ratio and justify the unprecedented national debt stock of 65 billion kina in 2025. The government's inflated GDP figures artificially suppress the debt-to-GDP ratio and allow it to borrow recklessly to fuel its insatiable appetite for spending. The consequences are severe. In 2025, interest payments 3.5 billion kina annually, consuming over 12% of the national budget. This is unsustainable. The manipulation of GDP figures to justify further borrowing is a fiscal mirage, one that risks plunging Papua New Guinea into a permanent debt trap. In sum, the Marape government's budget formulation is a masterclass in fiscal misdirection. It weaponizes statutory appropriations and statistical manipulation to sustain a political narrative of progress, while the economic foundations crumble beneath. Papua New Guinea deserves better, an honest budget grounded in reality, not rhetoric.